Hello and welcome to a special edition of the CBB Super Show. It's the Bracket Reveal Edition. I'm the host, Walter Waddell, aka Dub Deuce 85, and I'm joined by Pete as always. Pete, how's it going, man?
What's
We're
up,
learning
man?
the bracket right away.
From a year ago, right, when we were all depressed and down, expecting this day to come, and never came. So this is 2 years in waiting, actually, right?
Yeah, we actually have a tournament. It's yeah, exactly. It's been 2 years since the tournament. You're right.
Yep.
So we're just watching the reveal of the West region right now. It looks like some good matchups coming up. So we'll talk about those here. But yeah, man, just how does it feel? It feels good about, we're going to have these betting opportunities, DFS opportunities, just making money opportunities that was really robbed from us last season. Think about how bad you felt when we got the right. It was the Big East tournament. I think St. John's was playing against Creighton or something.
It was Creighton,
and we were all trying to jam in a game stack because all these games were canceling. And then, it just at halftime, they're like, nope, no more. So think about how bad that felt.
Standing.
Yeah, to where we are now. So it feels good. And I know games might get canceled and there's been some COVID stuff even in the conference tournaments, but the bracket being revealed means a tournament is going to happen. So good stuff here. This West region looks loaded.
You know what's cool is I actually played my first prize picks in quite a while today, and I won off your picks. So thank you. But this is something else to add for the tournament. We got prize picks, we got some gambling, we got DFS. So this is gonna be an awesome next couple weeks.
Yeah, man, this prize picks has been pretty hot, so I'm looking forward to continuing to give you guys picks. And Holmes today, he pushed. It's still a win because we got Lofton way over, and yeah, it worked out. So we'll hope to stay hot. So this West region, man, it's Gonzaga's number 1 overall seed. Iowa got the 2 seed, so Iowa versus Gonzaga could be a potential Elite 8 matchup. What do you think about that? Gonzaga could hang like 150 on Iowa, right?
Yeah, but then you get a chance for the big guy to make his appearance, right? This is his last time before he shows. Everybody knows Garza. So Eastern Washington from your end of the woods too against Kansas.
Yeah, they put both representatives from Washington. I'm on the west side of the state, but Eastern Washington in the same bracket same region as Gonzaga. That's kind of disappointing. But yeah, they have the chops to actually beat a team like Kansas, especially if McCormick is not 100%, coming back from protocol. So, looking at the matchups right away, the first one that has me to speak like one of our subs, rock hard. Number 12 seed UCSB Gauchos are playing the 5 seed Creighton Blue Jays, who kind of limped into the tourney. The Gauchos are red hot. Most people that played last night, prize picks for the Gauchos made some money. He's actually a local kid out of Tacoma, which is a few hours south. In Washington, Corey McLaughlin. He plays for the Gauchos. They have Oregon transfer Miles Norris, Amadou Sow, who's a really big man. They have a couple. Who else they got? They were just loaded, man. They have remember Nate Pierre-Louis from Temple last year?
Yep.
His little brother was on the team. He transferred to the Gauchos, so they've got a really good team actually. So I think they could definitely beat Creighton. That might be a trendy pick actually.
Yep. I was going to say after what G-Town did to Creighton yesterday, like you said, they're coming in limping, so that's kind of a sneaky game right there. I like that. So I don't think Creighton's going far. I'm a Zagorowski guy, but I don't think they're going to make it far. Their wins got knocked out yesterday. I'm liking this Patrick Ewing Georgetown team. Ewing actually said he was more hyped and proud coaching that game yesterday than any Big East game he actually played in, or any game he actually played in the Garden. He said.
Yeah. So while we're talking here, if you guys want to, in the live chat, if you're hanging out with us, want to talk about it, this is a generic bracket in the background there just for something to look at. But Oregon is in this side too. They're a 7 seed. So this West region, it doesn't look like Gonzaga. The number 1 overall seed is supposed to get a soft bracket, but this one looks pretty difficult. Just initially looking at it. And Wichita State made it too. Okay, yeah, it's in a commercial. Wichita State made it also. So they were one of those teams that was, potentially one of the, on the bubble. They lost to Cincinnati. People thought they wouldn't get in, but they got in. So,
but that's another feel-good team
them
too. Wichita, nobody thought Wichita State was gonna go anywhere this year after all the issues with the coaching. So that's another team for people to root for. That's not looking for a team.
Yeah. Number 13, the 2 teams I was really excited about. I really wanted Toledo to come out of the MAC. Ohio did. They got in as the number 13 seed. They got to take kind of kind of sucks here because we wanted to use Jason Preston, right? But they drew number 4 Virginia. So I was hoping Ohio would get a matchup against a team that played fast or, didn't have the best defense in a conference. So I don't know if we're going to be able to really use Preston in like a main lineup type of situation facing off against Virginia.
And this is
big men
player.
hurt.
Yeah, damn it.
Yeah, and big men hurt Virginia. Ohio does have a pretty talented one in their own right. That could potentially do some damage with Ben Vanderplas, 6'8", 232 guy. So he might be somebody to look at. All right, so they're announcing the South now. Baylor, looks like Baylor's going to get the number 1 seed in the South. I think it was good for them, to get a loss beforehand, just to get a taste of it. They kind of limped there for a little bit coming back from their break, but I think they're going to be ready. Oh, they're getting Hartford. Feel good story, Hartford. Hartford actually has a kid that been playing college basketball since like 2015. He played for Marquette back in the day. You might remember the name Tracy Carter. Transferred a couple of times. He's on Hartford. He led him to the tournament. So 8 seed North Carolina versus 9 seed Wisconsin. Miggs' Wisconsin Badgers will be playing North Carolina. That's an interesting matchup, man. That's a Michael Potter game written all over it, huh?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, Potter's going to end up being probably 5.5K probably in DFS. So
yeah,
that's a good matchup.
Ooh, another upset here, 12-5. So Villanova got the 5 seed. We know they're Gillespie. Moore's banged up. They're playing that 12 seed Winthrop. We know all about Winthrop, right? That's a team. That's another trendy 12 seed, I bet. Chandler Valdron.
I say with Valdron, Nova could be knocked out. This could be that could be our first upset right there.
See, I would have, and then North Texas as a 13 seed gets Purdue as a 4. I would have preferred Ohio to get Purdue because that's a winnable game, but we'll talk about that in a second. Texas Tech got the 6 seed. This is pretty fun. I hope you guys enjoy this. We're just gonna banter back and forth. This is like Christmas for me, to be honest.
And you're
Utah State got in.
I'm still in the Villanova.
They made it. Oh, okay. Utah State got in as the 11, man. That was another team that was close to the bubble, along with Wichita State, and I wasn't sure if they were going to get in. But Neemias Queta, Justin Bean, they're in the dance, man.
I'm a Bean guy too. So wait, they're playing Purdue? Yeah, no. North Texas playing.
North Texas gets Purdue. 6 seeded Texas Tech will get the 11 seed Utah State. So they're one of the teams in. Arkansas is a 3 seed in this region. They're going to play Colgate, who just won today. So Arkansas will get them. I'm sure Corey will be excited to see that. The Patriot League champions.
It's good to see Colgate make it.
Yeah, they look good today.
Where's Mount St. Mary's going to go?
All right, Florida's going to get the 7 seed here. Against Virginia Tech. Ooh, that's a pretty bad matchup for Florida against Virginia Tech. They don't got anyone that can guard Kiva Luma, I don't think.
That's probably the worst team Florida.
Speaking of Virginia Tech, did you see 2 seed is Ohio State in this one? So they'll be in the Baylor region, which is not that great for them, but you know what? They're happy with the 2 seed, I'm sure. See who the 15 is. Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts is a nice team, man. I like that squad. You know what? I don't think they're going to pull an upset, but if a 15 were to pull an upset on a 2, they got the best scorer in the country in Max Abmas, Kevin Albanos, who we know we played, Carl Jurgens. They have a nice team, man. But I was going to say Virginia Tech. Did you hear yesterday Storm Murphy has decided to transfer from Wofford to Virginia Tech? And, of course, Coach Young came over from Wofford. So he's getting all his boys from Wofford back together.
That's going to be Tech is probably the worst team Florida could play, actually. That's probably their worst nightmare for the tournament.
Yeah, they're not matching up well at all with Virginia Tech. They, especially with the way Tech's playing right now. Justin Mutz, he looks like an amazing player right now. Rates wise, he has like almost a 30% defensive and combined offensive rebounding rate, which years past his first year he was like a 16%er. So he's come up a bit. So him, obviously, Aluma has been playing out of his mind. They've
Is
got
Cone still
Radford
out?
healthy.
Is Jalen Cone still out?
Cone's still banged up. Yeah, he's still banged up, but I think they're thinking he's gonna play for the tournament. But having Radford back is pretty huge. So yeah, I don't like this matchup for Florida at all.
No, not at all.
I would say they're probably done early. Coach
There
White
hasn't
just
been
isn't
like
very good.
too many blowout teams yet. I mean, each game is like a decent game so far.
This is gonna be, you know what? There's gonna be so much parity. Yeah, this is gonna be really nice. There's just a ton of parity here, which is good for the game, you know, and it's gonna make things really really fun. And trying to pick them especially going to be difficult. Obviously, brackets are not one of those things that are easy to pick, but yeah, I like that. I like that matchup for Virginia Tech, definitely.
I like seeing Oral Roberts in there.
Yeah, that's Oral Roberts made us a little money the other night, but I like that matchup too. The 6-11 Texas Tech versus Utah State. You know, Texas Tech's defense isn't quite what it was in years past.
Yeah.
They haven't. I don't think there's anyone in the Big 12 really that's like Nuemis Queta, right? Like maybe Culver to a lesser extent, but they're gonna have their hands full trying to guard him.
There's still reputation by deep. There's still defense at reputation Tech. This year is definitely not a Tech team.
Santos Silva, you know, Santos Silva's going to have to guard him, and I don't know if he can. He's going to be down a lot. So.
I mean, MSS is playing much better.
He's playing great. Oh yeah, definitely. He's playing really good, quite good. So just to kind of go over them again while we're waiting for the next, Baylor versus Hartford, North Carolina versus Wisconsin, which that's an intriguing matchup. Two kind of contrasting styles. Winthrop versus Villanova, which should be a trendy upset pick. Purdue versus North Texas, which we'll have to dig into that one a little more. North Texas defense is really solid. I could see that one being a low-scoring game. Texas Tech, Utah State in the 6-11. Arkansas versus Colgate in the 3-14. Florida versus Virginia Tech in the 7-10. And then Ohio State versus Oral Roberts in the 2-15. Yeah, I like that Oral Roberts team, man. They have some serious firepower on their squad, definitely. You know, Admis is the top one. I think he's the top scorer in all the NCAA. They got Obenar, who's a tough scorer.
Kevin Obenar, I like Kevin Obenar a lot.
Yeah, they just were on the slate recently and made us some money when they won their last game over North Dakota State. So, all right. So Midwest region is coming up. Looks like Illinois is going to be the 1 seed in the Midwest. No surprise there.
I don't think Illinois is as good as people thought, though. They should never let Ohio State catch up to them today.
I don't see this team making a big run, and we might we're gonna Monday, Tuesday. I think we'll go on air and have some prediction shows and talk about matchups a little further as we get pricing and stuff. But I don't see this Illinois team making a run. I mean, obviously they're gonna win. They have Drexel, their 16 seed, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get stopped in the Sweet 16. We'll see how the matchups break out here, but they don't. When AO's not having a good game like he didn't really today, yeah, it's a problem. And they'll need the other guys. Ooh, see, look at possible second-round matchup looming. Loyola Chicago is the 8 seed for them.
So Illinois got Drexel?
Illinois got Drexel, and now they just announced the 8 seed for Illinois is Loyola Chicago, so that's obviously the Cameron Krutwig show, and they're going to play Georgia Tech. Moses Wright versus Krutwig. Krutwig is going to do some serious damage to Georgia Tech. That's going to be a great target.
Winter for Drexel is probably their best player. I like Winter, but they're not going to be able to handle Illinois. But
yeah,
Drexel's a sneaky team, man. They beat. I mean, they've been beat. I mean, teams like James Madison and stuff. I mean, College of Charleston. I mean, they're not Illinois, but I like Cameron Winter.
Tennessee is a 5 seed here. Tennessee is the 5 seed playing Oregon State, the winners of the Pac-12 tournament. Oregon State's the 12 seed. It's a nice little tennis, matchup between Oregon State and Tennessee. I think we could see that one be closer than people probably think.
Yep, and Tennessee's went on the radar a little bit with all the love that Bama and Arkansas is getting.
4-13, Oklahoma State versus 13 seed Liberty. That is going to be a game that a lot of people are going to be myself especially, going to be wanting to watch. That's going to be fireworks. That's a fantasy-friendly game right there, boys and girls.
Everybody's going to see Cade.
And our guy for Liberty's got a few guys here, but Darius McThree. San Diego State's the 6th seed in the Midwest region. Let's see who they're going to play. Syracuse. Your Syracuse boys at 11 seed get San Diego State. So Syracuse got in. Shit. Here
They
comes
can
the Sweet
beat
16.
they
Here
can
comes the
beat
Sweet
San Diego
16
State
run.
too. They can beat San Diego State too. So
They
I think
always get in
they're in a
as
good
11 or
spot.
12 seed.
Well, of
Yep. They
course,
always get in here. They
Bayheim's gonna
always
make
get in.
Bayheim. If they're on a bubble, they're gonna get in Bayheim. So there's no doubt
This
about it.
is hilarious. Yeah, they're probably gonna win that game, honestly. But
Yeah.
let's see. San Diego State facing the zone. Terrell Gomez, dead eye shooter. He might be a sneaky play if he's like 4'5", 4'6".
And he
Jordan
will be. Yeah,
Shackle,
he's gonna be under 5.
he's been pretty decent. Matt Mitchell can shoot the three, so there's gonna be some targets there, definitely. Um, 3 seed there's West Virginia. All right, so that's a little. I thought West Virginia might get like a 4.
I
Actually,
was
they were
thinking, yeah,
projected as a 3 or 4.
I thought
Morehead
they were gonna be like,
State,
oh
14
yeah.
seed. Okay. Morehead State has a kid. Now I'm gonna say he's probably gonna be expensive, but his name is Joni Broom, and he's the type of guy. He's got a 30% shot rate, 27% usage rate type of guy that you'll love. Block rates over 8%. His combined rebounding rate's 40%. He shoots almost 60%. Doesn't shoot threes. He draws 5 fouls for 40. So he could do some damage against a team like West Virginia. So we'll have to see what his price comes out. 7 versus 10 seeds. So 7-seeded Clemson are my guy. Come full circle on Amir Sims versus 10-seeded Rutgers. What do you think about a matchup like that?
That's
Kind of a old school battle.
Yep. I'm still back. We're talking about Johnny Broom is very underrated for Morehead State.
Yep,
So
absolutely. Houston
him
is going to be the
McBride.
2 seed here. Ooh, okay. That's a bummer. So Cleveland State was a team that made us some money the other night, Patton and them. They're the 15 seed here. They got to play a 2 seed at Houston. So that's a little bit of a heartbreaker for me. That's 2 teams I was really excited about making it, Cleveland State and Ohio. Ohio playing Virginia. Cleveland
Houston's
State
gonna
having to
roll
play
on that
Houston.
one.
Yeah, so that's going to be a
No.
problem because that's going to take 2 teams off the board that are flush with DFS options that are getting the worst possible matchups. So they got screwed there as a 15 seed. I would have much rather have seen them play Alabama or something like that. That would have been better. So
Give me that Clemson Rutgers. That's actually gonna be one of the better games of the tournament, I think. You get to see Sims.
that's got the feel of a physical one, like
Yep.
like that's going to be a knock 'em out brawl type of thing. What's your favorite? Initially looking at that one, do you got a favorite game in that one in the Midwest?
Well, of course, Syracuse, but
Yeah.
the Clemson Rutgers obviously I think is probably the most competitive game. Actually, no, well, Morehead State though, Morehead State's like I said they're a very underrated team. So, but it's gonna be the Rutgers game. We get to see Sims play and Clemson. I think Clemson could beat Rutgers, but Syracuse shouldn't be in the tournament, but
Yeah, well, they snuck back in. They snuck back into
they're gonna advance. So
the first 4 because there were some other teams that lost so badly. But yeah, they've been in this 11 seed just only a couple of years ago where they played in the play-in game and then they made it to the Sweet 16. And I really don't feel like that matchup against San Diego State will be that difficult for them, really. So
no, they shouldn't. But San Diego State's got a couple with Gomez and Mitchell. They got a couple of decent players, but they're gonna advance.
So this Midwest region has some good matchups. I think my favorite initially looking at it is Oklahoma State versus Liberty. That should be chock full of options. And that Loyola Chicago Georgia Tech game, that should be fun because it's kind of 2 contrasting styles. But big men, especially talented big men, have just pilfered Georgia Tech all season long. So I could see Krutwig having a game sort of like a Mark Williams type of game where he puts up like 17 and 12 and 4 blocks kind of thing. So you might have to look out for what his price is.
And Krutwig still owes us too.
Yeah, I mean he made value like 1 or 2 out of the 3 times, but yeah, he didn't have that slate breaker. And then yeah, we'll have to really see what Joni Broom's price comes out at because if they put him like 7K or 7.5 or something, I think I'll probably jam him in a lot of lineups because West Virginia, while their defense is adequate, we've seen them give up a lot of fantasy friendly stat lines to guys, and Broom is not the type of player that is going to wilt under pressure or get starry-eyed about these guys. And, especially you see these type of players. From smaller schools come in with a chip on their shoulder. He's going to come in looking to do some damage. So he's a guy that should definitely do well. Earlier in the season, they had games earlier against Kentucky, Richmond, Ohio State. They got walloped, but that helped them out a little bit because they ran through their conference. They really only lost to Belmont earlier in the season, and then they beat Belmont 86-71 in the OVC finals. So They'll be ready, and they played Clemson this year too. So they had a lot of good games or a lot of teams that they played that were potential either tourney teams or our tourney teams. And Broome especially is going to be a guy that could do some damage. So
He's
we'll have to
another
see how
name.
that works out with this price.
A lot of people haven't heard. Has Mountain St. Mary's been picked yet? Have they been
I
or seeded
don't think
yet?
so. I don't think so. You looking for little Muggsy Bucks Jr. or what? You looking for the guy that
Chong
made us all the
Kui
money the other day?
or Chong Kui.
Yeah,
I like Chong
yeah.
Kui.
He
And
just made us all that
who's
money.
the other guy? Apoku, right? Apoku for Mountain.
Yeah,
He had a good game in a championship game. What's that? The Northeast
yeah,
Conference, right?
yeah. Opaku, and Oferum and John Q. Those guys are all pretty nice. So we're heading into the East region now. So the last one. This is Michigan is the number 1 seed here. A very susceptible number 1 without Isaiah Livers. So we'll have to see how their draw comes. Okay, so here you go. You'll get
Yeah.
your chance. I thought this might happen. So they're getting Mount St. Mary's versus Texas Southern in a
There you
play-in
go.
game. So we'll get a play-in / NIT slate come this week, and we'll get our opportunity to use our boy, Damian Chong Q.
So they got
Yeah,
Texas Southern.
yeah, they'll be playing the play-in game against Texas Southern. So we'll get to play. These are fun. Some of those are my favorite slates of the year, honestly. Those NIT play-in game
Definitely.
combos, because those 16 seeds, they're putting up some big fantasy scores. 8th seed here in the East region is LSU. LSU played a hell of a game today. I thought they were going to pull it out against Bama.
Yeah.
They looked much better. They're heating up at the right time.
Yep, they're gonna
So
make
let's
noise.
see who their 9 seed is.
I'm still at Michigan, Esmond. Now I'm finally getting a Michigan Mount St. Mary.
Ooh, St. Bonaventure, the 9 seed. So LSU versus St. Bonnie. So yeah,
We saw St. Bonnie's today.
we saw both these guys, LSU and St. Bonaventure. So two contrasting styles. Slow, methodical St. Bonaventure. LSU, they play a fast paced, not a lot of defense. St. Bonnie's, we're going to want to have exposure to them for sure. They play six guys.
Six guys.
Osuni, my man Osuni, and Lofton should be good. 5-12 matchup coming up here. But yeah, the St. Bonnie's, man, I'm going to be all over them. I know Pete's a little bit behind here.
We made the right
Colorado.
call on today.
Yeah, he worked out. So Colorado's the 5 seed here. Georgetown, the 12 seed. That's an interesting matchup. Colorado that's beatable. That's a winnable game. That's a winnable game for the boys.
Yep, because McKinley Wright. I love McKinley Wright, but he can still scare me. Could be a short show, but everybody's falling in love with Georgetown. I kind of have too. I mean,
yeah, I made some money betting them this week. I made some money,
and that was with Pickett sucking too. So
yeah,
Georgetown can definitely advance.
Oh, here's a good matchup. 4-seeded Florida State versus 13-seed UNC Greensboro. So Isaiah Miller is going to step up and play Leonard Hamilton and company.
That's right, Isaiah. Yeah, that's a good matchup.
That's not bad. I think that's a winnable game as well.
Yep. I don't see Florida State going to the final 8 or final 4.
I've soured on them. On them a bunch the last week or two.
So Greensboro could be the one team that, I mean, obviously Florida State could beat them, but Greensboro could be the type of team that could advance. You're looking for an upset here.
So and then Michigan State. So BYU gets a 6 seed. Michigan State has gotten in as an 11 seed. They'll be playing a play-in game on one of the slates with the combo NIT against UCLA. So UCLA versus Michigan State, Pete. That is a very interesting matchup against two, teams that used to be the stuff back in the day. I mean, Spartans just recently, of course, but that's a pretty interesting matchup actually. See how that goes.
BYU. Okay, I'm catching BYU now. They're 6th. BYU's another surprising team. I think that could do something.
Yeah. So Spartans and UCLA both kind of limped in here at the end. So it'll be interesting to see their play-in matchup and how they do. Like, defensively, UCLA is very solid. That could be a type of matchup where Jules Bernard would be your play. I'm kind of sour on Tiger Campbell right now. He's even at 5K, he's not paying off. So.
Okay, and this all starts Friday now, right? Not Thursday this year.
Yeah, 3-seeded Texas, Big 12 champs. They'll be playing Abilene Christian, the 14 seed. Abilene Christian mowed through their tournament. They looked very, very good. So that should be
Yep, Texas doesn't impress me right now, but
Really, I kind of like the way Matty Coleman's been playing, man.
He's the only player I
Okay.
like.
Last two matchups, UConn a 7 seed versus Maryland a 10 seed.
There you
Alabama
go.
gets the 2 seed here, and they'll be playing 15 seeded Iona in the return to the tournament
Iona
of Ricky
Patino.
Pitino.
Here we go.
So Iona, or we know Alabama plays fast, right? And Iona, not as fast as years past, but they're a very fast
Still.
team as well.
Yep.
So I could see that one being fun, very fun. Names to know for Iona: Isaiah Ross, heavy shot rate for that guy. Asante Gist, he's been with the team for a few years. If you guys played
Yeah.
last year, he was on the New Major
Gist.
Fridays a lot.
Yep.
Those are the two names to really know for them, the two guys that do the most damage. So. Teams left out real quick. Oh my God. So first four out, it says teams on standby. So Louisville didn't get in. I just realized Louisville didn't get in. Shocking. St. Louis didn't get in. Ole Miss and Colorado State. They're all replacement 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if somebody cannot go because of COVID or whatever, the first replacement is Louisville. So that's an interesting new wrinkle.
That's the
to
order it
things.
goes in. What's it?
Yeah.
Louisville and who?
It was Louisville, I think Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss.
Okay. So Louisville's. For some reason, I thought Louisville made it. I thought
So last four in: Michigan State, UCLA. They'll play a playing game. Wichita State and Drake. So they'll play a playing game. I'm pretty surprised Drake got in over Louisville, to be honest. Their net was better, but I don't think they deserved it. First four out: Louisville, CSU, St. Louis, and Ole Miss.
Colorado State surprised
So,
it too. I thought they were going to make it.
so what happens? What happens if Louisville or St. Louis or any of these teams get invited to the NIT, but then they accept, but somebody gets knocked out? Do they just say, F the NIT, I'm going? I mean, how does that work? That's going to be weird.
NIT starts what day? Thursday? When's the NIT start? Wednesday.
Wednesday, and the bracket reveal for that will be like an hour after this, so I'll be in the chat kind of messing around with that later. But yeah, I'm shocked. I'm actually really shocked that Louisville didn't get in. I think, is it me or Pete? I don't know if you guys can still hear us. I cut out. Can you even hear me now, Pete, or no?
Yeah. I got
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, I don't know what happened there. So yeah, that's initially what it looks like. Now let's dive in here. I know you got your baseball show coming up in a little bit, but let's mess around here and talk about some of these matchups and dig in. Let's see if they got a full bracket for us to look at here.
That's what I'm looking for now too.
I'm open the chat while we're looking for that. Chris says, too bad AZ's not in. They'd win it all. Yeah, I'm sure they would. We get to play UNC Big Roulette on the very first slate. Yeah, that's a fun one. Matt Mitchell DFS lock against the zone for sure. I think Liberty can beat OK State and stack the Bonnies. Yeah, man. St. Bonaventure. I'm excited for that matchup. We're gonna definitely be able to play. Lofton, Oshuni, anyone you can play. A 6-man rotation doesn't get any better than that. So. I'm just gonna pull up a bracket here.
Nate Oates Rick Pitino matchup. That's gonna be one of the funnest ones.
That's gonna be fun, man. Because Pitino's been, Pitino knows what's up. He's got some tricks up his sleeve. He could potentially pull a dub out here. So, looking at the East region from a whole, obviously that LSU St. Bonnie's matchup sticks out immediately. We'll see how prices. Florida State, UNC Greensboro. I love Miller in that matchup.
And Georgetown.
And then UConn as a 7 seed's got major Cinderella vibes because UConn, when they made their runs before, they were a lower seed. Book Knight, he's that next in line for UConn superstar, that could do some serious damage. The next Kemba Walker, if you will. So I don't know. I feel like that matchup against Maryland, they could definitely beat Maryland.
Definitely.
And Book Knight could be, taking them to the next level here. A la, Shepaz Napier, Ryan Boatwright, Kemba Walker.
Our boy Tyrese Martin for UConn.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since UConn's really made a run. I could see them definitely doing that. And looking with who they would face in the second round, the Alabama Iona winner, they could beat Alabama, definitely. I think Alabama is a little susceptible. I know they looked good and that their defense stepped up, but LSU pushed them there. But I think they're beatable, definitely. I don't know if I'll pick Iona over them, but they're beatable. Do you have a bracket in front of you by chance? If you go to Sporting News, Or are you good?
I had the Eastern one. I just came up on Twitter. Now, what'd you read about
Okay, yeah.
sporting
I was
news?
gonna say if you go to at Sporting News, they have them all. They have them full. They have pictures out, so you can at least look at that. If you get a chance, I was just gonna ask you what some potential initial upsets that you thought were while you're looking for that. I think Oregon's Liberty over Oklahoma State. That one I think is going to be really interesting. Obviously, you guys know Darius McThree. That's our dude. We'll see what he's priced at against Oklahoma State. But they also have Chris Parker, Kyle Rode made some money, Elijah Cuffey. All those guys are going to be in play. And Oklahoma State, Caleb Boone. Liberty's interior, they're not great offensive rebounders. They're really good defensive rebounders. They don't really block shots. They live and die on the 3-point line. So I could see a guy like Caleb Boone or even Matthew Alexander Moncrief having good games against Liberty. So that would be where I'd maybe target initially some of those guys.
Avery Anderson, that's my new guy.
Yeah, he let some people down recently, just that last game. But yeah, he's going to be taking over. This Oklahoma State team, obviously they're the real deal,
especially next year. But
yep, I do feel like the Syracuse, over San Diego State, that might end up being a popular one. And then I may get a little wacky with my bracket because why not? But I don't know. Something tells me the Morehead State game is going to be a lot closer than people think, and they're going to beat West Virginia.
Okay, I got my bracket up. All right, where are we?
I'm just looking at a couple. I'm looking at the Midwest right now, but I was just wondering any of the, and pretty much anywhere, what kind of, upsets or anything that kind of stuck out at you, or let's start with that. Just any upsets, any of the regions, that you feel strongly about initially.
First of all, does Pitino have a chance of beating Bama?
I don't know. I think they may keep it closer than maybe it's expected. That may be a thing where, like, if Iona's, plus 10 or something, maybe you roll that in a parlay or something. Because Ross and Gist are really good players, but they're both really short. So I just feel like Alabama's length will give them problems. Gist is like 5'10". So I don't know. I don't think so, honestly. But who knows? It would be fun if they did.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm intrigued now by Pitino. I mean, of course, I knew they're in it, but I'm intrigued by these guys. What else we got? Like you said, Eastern Washington could give Kansas a game.
Yeah. All the 12 seeds look good this year, like better than normal.
You know who's actually the school I'm going to right now is my master's, Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon gets Iowa, right? No.
Yeah, the Lopes.
Yeah, Iowa.
This is the first time ever, man. They're there. The Lopes have Asborn Midgard, who was at Wichita State last year. He was a big time player for them this season. He led them to the dance. Midgard actually has like the top 3 true shooting percentage in the country. So he's been a stud this year. They're a good team.
Bryce Drew is obviously a good coach. I mean, what Bryce Drew did it was Masgard. How do you say it? Masgard? He's a big dude too.
Yeah, they went from Thunder Dan Marley to Bryce Drew. Like, this school is like, they want to be good. They're putting money out there, and Marley wasn't that bad, really. They had a good team under Marley too, but I mean, they've put together a nice roster. They have Mikey Dixon, who was at St. John's a year or two ago. Alessandro Lever feels like he's been there forever. I remember using him like 2 years ago for DFS. So they actually could put up some points on Iowa. I don't know that they have the personnel, although Midgard's 7 feet. I was gonna say I don't know if they have the personnel to guard Garza, but Lever's 6'10" and Asborn is 7 feet, 270. So we know in the past, physical, Garza likes to not be pushed around. That's one thing I've noticed about Garza. He'll get physical if he has to. He prefers to not. You know what I mean? So if somebody comes in there and starts pushing him around, he'll get off his game real quick. So that could be, potential. I do like what was the other 15 seed that I was looking at?
UC Santa Barbara. That's another team. They kind of
Yep, I'm all over them.
Yeah, they're not a bad team either, right?
I've been harping on them for 48 hours now. People probably getting tired of hearing me talk about them, but yeah, they're definitely
that's the kid from
a
Oregon
team to
State,
look out
right?
for.
Jacoy McLaughlin, right?
McLaughlin, he transferred from Oregon State. He's from Tacoma, which is south of Seattle. They let him walk away, but he played Big West Player of the Year. He's an absolute stud. They have Amadou Sow, Miles Norris, who's an Oregon transfer. Like I said
Yeah,
earlier in the show, NPL's little brother from Temple, he's there now. They have a really, really strong group. They put a hurting last night on Irvine, and Irvine's been the Big West representative for a while now, a couple of years. And
Devereaux Ramsey's on that team. Isn't Devereaux Ramsey on that team?
Yeah,
He's like
they put a serious hurting on them last night, and it wasn't even that close. So I could see them beating Creighton. I would have preferred them to play Villanova maybe, but I think they can beat Creighton. Creighton, in my mind, people are still overrating Creighton. Georgetown +9 yesterday feels like super easy. So if we get a good number on Santa Barbara, if the Vegas wants to give us like a +8 or something like that, I think you can bet that and have them stay close because they could definitely frustrate and give Zagorowski problems. And if it's a day where Creighton's shooting well, they can match. Miles Norris yesterday was hitting 3 after 3 after 3. He was unconscious. And they have shooters on this team that can do damage, and they have big men that can do damage. Sal and his backup both can score underneath traditionally at will. So might see Kalkbrenner play more for Creighton that one.
That Ramsey, he actually played at Remy Martin and Marvin Bagley in high school.
Okay. So let me real quick. I just want to read off the multi-bids. So the Big Ten has 9. Kind of figured they would have a lot. Big 12 has 7. ACC 7. Slightly surprising. SEC 6. Pac-12 still got 5. So as much as people want to make fun of the Pac-12, and I know Oregon State won, so they had to get in, but that's 5. Big East only with 4. Somewhat surprising. They'll probably load up the NIT. The American got 2. The A-10 got 2. Well-deserved. Mountain West got 2. I was really glad to see Utah State get in. Missouri Valley 2, and then the West Coast Conference 2. So those are your multi-bids. Big 10 coming in with the most at 9, then Big 12 and ACC tied with 7. So definitely a lot to internalize here and chew on. We'll have the NIT being announced here. Like I said in the chat, I'll be all about that. Now that we talked about some potential upsets, let's look at some we kind of talked about throughout the show. But let's just go about region by region. We'll make it easy. So let's go to the West first. So Gonzaga's region. What's the most intriguing DFS game there for you? It can be a stack, a player you want to see. What game out of there? And there's a few I know, but just pick one game out of there that you feel really like I want to watch this. There's going to be a lot of fantasy points scored in this one.
Man, this is Virginia.
The West is loaded. They loaded the West.
I know. I don't want to say. I like Ohio, but they're playing in Virginia. I like Santa Barbara, but they're Oregon BCU.
Yeah, we didn't even really talk about that initially.
No, and we saw BCU today. We've seen what Bones can do. I mean, Bones
versus Dorte. Bones versus Dorte.
I was just gonna say him. And that's more intriguing. The more I like Bones. Bones even playing in foul trouble, man. He's still.
His second half was monstrous.
Yeah, he's still all over the place. So, Ethan, Ethan Thompson's Oregon State. Definitely. How far do you think Oregon's going to go though? Because you got Double O, right? You got Duarte. They're loaded.
Yeah, I think the winner of that VCU Oregon game will make the Sweet 16. I'll probably pick them over Iowa. Yeah, I think whoever comes out of there beats Iowa. To be honest with you, VCU may not have enough weapons to keep up offensively with Iowa, but they have Bones and Vince Williams. But I think Oregon might be better equipped to beat Iowa. So I think Oregon can at least make the Sweet 16.
If Oregon gets through, if Oregon beats VCU, yeah, they're gonna. I could see them going. Yeah, but then they play the winner. They probably play like Kansas, right? So, Kansas got their hands full with Eastern Washington. This is one of the better brackets we've had it for a couple of years now.
They loaded the West on Gonzaga for being the number 1 overall seed. They've got some serious heartache, but So Oregon, if they get through, they'd play Iowa. If they beat Iowa Sweet 16, then they'd play the Kansas, Eastern Washington, or USC, Wichita State, Drake winner. Which that's an intriguing matchup too. USC versus Kansas. because Kansas stupidly, to a fault, won't go big when they have an advantage. They'll be forced to go big against the Mobley brothers. And I don't know. I think that USC could actually win that one. So that'll be an intriguing matchup as well.
Yep, this is this the Mobley brothers a chance to let everybody see them, especially on the East Coast.
And
Oklahoma and
Gonzaga.
Missouri.
Yeah, I was just about to say Gonzaga will be gut checked right away because there's still a conglomerate of people on Twitter and out there that Gonzaga hasn't played anyone. So once they get past, assuming they get past the 16 seed, the winner of Oklahoma and Missouri will be next, and that will be a tough game. Missouri we know is loaded. Oklahoma's got Austin Reeves. The maturation of Harkless and Harmon. They're fairly loaded too. Those are two gutty ass teams coming out of their conferences. So not really a teams you wanted to see in the second round, but Gonzaga will be gut checked right away. So that's intriguing as well.
Actually, you know what? The only Jeremiah Tillman is the only player on Missouri's roster to play an NCAA tournament game.
That's big.
That's kind of a. He actually. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yep. Yeah, because he played for Florida State, right, as a freshman. That was all he. No, I mean, he played against Florida State as a freshman. So,
yeah.
I'm just talking about playing against Florida State. I'm looking at Florida State. So that's a lot younger team than I thought they were, Missouri.
Yeah, they got some seniors on the squad or some older guys, but yeah, they're a little inexperienced at the bottom. So how fun would it be if the Gauchos beat Creighton and then Ohio somehow pulls the upset off Virginia? Could you even imagine? Like, my head would explode if we got a second round matchup between USCSB and Ohio. Oh my God, that would be such an amazing DFS game if those two teams played, because Preston we know is nuts. Depending on what Preston's price is, he still may be viable. Let me look real quick because I think Ohio. Let's see who they played this year. They played Illinois. They lost to Illinois by 2. Preston hung 31-6-8 on Illinois. Illinois' defense is not as good, but that's still a big time. It's a big time stat line. I think let's see last year who they played, because they played Utah. Preston had 21-3-4 against Utah last season. They played Villanova and Baylor. They did get smacked. That was in a tournament. He's a lot better this year. Against Villanova, he had 16-8 with a steal and 3 rebounds. So yeah, and he's even better this year. So he has experience against teams that are upper tier. And even Vanderplas has been with him for a couple of seasons as well.
Vanderplas has been there for a while too. So
yeah,
and they're close. So Vanderplas is a lot more important to that team than people think.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Biggs have given Virginia trouble in the past. And actually, people probably don't know Jason Carter for Xavier. He was on Ohio back in 2019. He played with Preston when Preston came in as a freshman, and Vanderplas was a freshman. So Carter was a stud on that team. I know he doesn't look very good now, but so this Ohio team, they've been together. A few of these guys have been together for a while. And yeah, it would not shock me to see them pull off, a dub against Virginia, especially with Virginia not playing, for a few days now. They got that cancellation. Maybe it's in their head. Who knows? Maybe they don't play and one of those alternates step in. Maybe Louisville steps in as an alternate and they beat Louisville. I don't know, man.
That's true too. That can change quickly. Vanderplas's father and sister both played in the NCAA tournament. He's the only one that didn't. Now he's got his chance.
Well, there you go. So hopefully that'll be a second round matchup we see. So let's jump over to Midwest. Midwest is Illinois' region. So let's see. I was one where I said Oklahoma State versus Liberty. That's going to be probably the best game in the bracket for fantasy purposes. What are some other matchups here that you might be looking at? Obviously, your Syracuse boys are here.
Syracuse. The Clemson-Rutgers game interests me. I think that's going to be a hard-fought game. Sims going against Johnson. That's going to be that and the Syracuse San Diego State team, because between Matt Mitchell and Gomez, they can still score against Syracuse. So I still think Syracuse is going to win that, and then they're going to get West Virginia and Culver. Syracuse could actually, make it to. Syracuse could end up playing Houston here.
Man, if Houston plays Syracuse, I'm sorry, bro. You guys are going to get absolutely annihilated by those 3-point shooters. Can you imagine how many points
That's
Grimes will
that's
put
what's going
on
to stop.
Syracuse?
Yep, that's what Syracuse train's going to
I
stop.
almost,
Because,
I hope it happens, man. That would be.
yep, because
Yeah, I'm
they can
excited
beat
about some
West
matchups
Virginia.
here.
They can beat West Virginia, and they
Definitely.
can. I mean, Houston should. But Houston could have trouble against if Rutgers beats Clemson. Don't I mean Rutgers could give Houston a little bit of a problem here. So, I mean, do you
Yeah.
think Houston's the Final Four team?
Well, let me look a little closer because I've been having arguments with Rob. Rob used to be on the show with me a couple years ago. How the pros do it. So if you guys don't know who he is, he's been giving me a hard time because I'm pretty high on Houston, and he doesn't believe that they're even going to make it past the Sweet 16. So I'm gonna
I don't
make a
think they're
little
a
money
Final Four
off them.
team, but
I think they're a Sweet 16 team 100%. Do I think they're an Elite Eight team? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to say they're a Final Four team just yet until I analyze their bracket a little bit more. But I'm backing them to make a deep run. I think they're better than people are giving them credit for. Just look at how deep their actual their roster is. They just had and they're going to be good for years to come. Cameron Tyson, Tremont Mark, Jamal Sheed, they all came off the bench today in the blowout, and they were hammering on Cincinnati starters.
Yep, he looked good
Yeah,
today. He came off the bench.
they all got to play when they played that Lady of the Lake team a few weeks back when the starter sat didn't play at all. They all hung up. They all put up like 60s.
Yeah.
And if it would have been found fantasy, so I know that's Lady of the Lake, whatever. But just to see them come out and play the Cincinnati starters, who it's a good Cincinnati team next year for sure, and see how good they did. If Grimes leaves and Drew leave, they're still going to be good. So yeah, I think it was good to get them more playing time because it does show that they have depth. If somebody gets into foul trouble, they've got guys, especially Tremont Mark. I think Tremont Mark might be their guy for the future because he's been playing consistently. So I think they're primed. Yes. Let's see what they'd have to that second round matchup against Clemson, Rutgers, certainly tough. Sweet 16 though, I think they could beat all the Moorhead, West Virginia, Syracuse, San Diego State. None of those four teams to me would beat Houston. I don't think.
Rutgers could be a sneaky team too. I could see Ron Harper's still a good player. I know he's second half of the season wasn't as well, but I can definitely, seriously, I can see Harper coming out. I can see Johnson, Geo Baker. So,
but then looking at possible Elite Eight matchups, so the very best team they would face would be Illinois, who we think is susceptible to getting beat. Then they've got down here in the 4 seeds Oklahoma State, who I personally think Liberty could beat them. So all the teams up here in the top half, I think are beatable by Houston as well. So yeah, I guess I do think they could make the Final Four when I actually look at the bracket now.
The more I'm looking at it, I can, because Illinois is the other team that give me a chance, and they can definitely beat Illinois. There's no doubt in my mind they can beat Illinois. But
Grimes, here's a did you get a chance to see the Houston game at all today?
Yeah, I watched the second half.
Okay, yeah. So Grimes got the 2 early fouls, whatever. Everyone's panicking. He only got 3 points, but he came out in the second half, and he could not miss a single shot. He was doing, jukes and crossing over and shooting in people's eyes. He was stealing the ball. He was throwing just pinpoint passes for dunks. He was showing out just to let people know, like, hey, I'm that dude, because he was supposed to be a one and done coming out of Kansas. They had a whole little profile on it during the second half, and he was talking about, just because you don't come out as a one and done doesn't mean you're not good. You can take the long road and develop. And he chose to come home to Houston because they have a knack for developing guards. And yeah, he went from averaging like 8 points as a freshman to almost 18, 19 now as a junior. So he was just putting Cincy on skates. He's nasty. So yeah, I really like this Houston team. A lot more than I thought I would.
And he went clutch nuclear yesterday too. I mean, that was kind of that was a little battle there between him and Boogie yesterday. So I don't know, he's one of the best players in the nation. I think if they can get by the Rutgers game, if they're playing Rutgers, and then I think they should be able to breeze through. I think they can beat Illinois, and then they'd be playing against a Baylor team, because here's that scenario. Going back to the other bracket, I could see Virginia Tech beating Florida.
Let's go into that. Let's talk about the South region. I was going to head there next.
Bracket.
Yeah.
Because Florida could get beat by Virginia Tech. Ohio State beats Oral Roberts. Next thing you know, you got Ohio State cruising in here. Ohio State now playing. Ohio State could go. Next thing they're playing Arkansas. I could see Ohio State, Arkansas in the Sweet.
Yeah.
In the Sweet 16, right? So then, watch Ohio State could end up freaking going the Final 8, or the Elite 8. I mean.
They're good enough. They certainly showed a lot of moxie. Beating Michigan. Obviously, I know they didn't have livers, and Michigan fans are babies on Twitter. I'm sorry if you guys are a Michigan fan watching this, but they were
Yeah,
talking all this smack about Gonzaga, and they were like, well, we didn't have livers. Well, Ohio State didn't have Kyle Young, who's arguably just as important to that team as livers is to
oh,
Michigan. So I
definitely.
don't want to hear that. Yeah, potential Elite Eight matchup between Baylor, if it's chalk and Baylor and Ohio State meet, that would be a really phenomenal matchup.
And Ohio State
That
could
would
beat
be
Baylor.
yeah. If Baylor gets hot, then Ohio State, we learned today, Dwayne Washington, career high 32 points, they could keep up because we know, Mitchell, Teague, obviously Butler, all three of Mayer, they can score at will. But now we know that Sewing did it today. He scored over 20. If Liddell can score, we know that. Seth Towns is now playing 23 straight games over 20 minutes. I'm now ready to say Seth Towns is healthy. He's playable. He did well again today. There's a lot to like for this Ohio State team, definitely.
And the
I
way they
think
came
that
back,
it's going to be the
today.
Wild West. Yeah, the way they came out today was good. And this bracket looks
Disappointed.
like the Wild. This bracket looks like the Wild West in that I could see a numerous amount of different teams that they came out of it. I wouldn't be shocked. Obviously Baylor, Ohio State. I could see UNC make a run out of here. I could see a team like Winthrop get hot and make the Sweet 16. Utah State with Queta. If the guards can figure it out and they get good, play out of their guards, they're
Yep.
good enough with Queta and Bean to make it out of here. Arkansas is deep enough to make it out of here. So there's obviously Virginia Tech with Aluma. So I wouldn't be shocked. There's at least, I'd say, 5 teams in this region that could make it out. It's very dangerous. Baylor got a tough side of the bracket for sure. And all
Not
that
even
could be
talking about
moot.
Wisconsin. Wisconsin playing
Yeah,
North Carolina. I mean, you never know.
yeah,
Well, they got to face the Baylor winner, right? So they got to face Baylor, Carolina, or
yep,
Wisconsin. I think I could see Carolina beating Wisconsin. But
yeah.
yeah, and then playing Baylor. So I see. So yeah, you're right. This could be just the Wild West. Definitely.
And I could see, with Nova being shorthanded, we could see Winthrop get hot, come out of here, and then with North Texas, Purdue, say Purdue wins and gets out of there. I could see Winthrop beating Purdue also. So Winthrop could end up being a Sweet 16 team.
Purdue's
And this could all be
beatable.
this could be a moot point. We could see a team like Oral Roberts who has crazy scorers get hot and knock Ohio State out in round 1, and then that'll be done. So. That is the most wide open region. So that I'm looking at it here initially, and then let's see. Last one here is the East. So what game coming out of the East? And there's a couple of good ones here too. I mean, I think LSU St. Bonaventure is probably the best, from DFS. So throw that game out for a second.
Okay.
Beside that one, what else one from a DFS or fantasy or betting standpoint intrigues you?
UConn Maryland intrigues me, as I think that's very competitive. Because I think Maryland I could go either way. And UNC Greensboro. Yeah, I like UNC Greensboro. I like George. I think Georgetown can be Colorado. LSU Bonaventure, we already know it's gonna be a good game. Yeah, this UNC Greensboro team, because I think this Florida State team does not impress me right now this part of the season. So Greensboro could come in there and definitely. I just lost them. What's their? And who's BYU playing? I have a blank in the BYU spot. I don't know why I have a blank.
So BYU's playing the play-in winner
Okay.
between Michigan State and UCLA. So the 11 seed play-ins are Michigan State versus UCLA, which is interesting, and Wichita State versus Drake. Those are the 4 11 seed play-ins, and then we have Norfolk State versus Appalachian State as a 16 seed play-in, and then what was it? Mount St. Mary's we'll get to use one more time, and Texas Southern. So
BYU's.
good
I mean, BYU can make some noise here too.
Yeah, they're deep. They're deep as hell. So they could definitely, and they got good guard play. They got Averett and Barcello.
We saw them the other night. I mean,
and Matt Harms, who's tournament, how tournament tested is Harms. That just a couple years ago in that matchup with them, Virginia, where Carson Edwards and Mamadou Diakite were making shot after shot against each other. The experience from his end on Harms is not to be messed with. They could easily win this game and then beat Texas right after.
Mark Pope's a good coach, and if you think about when he rebuilt that roster, and look at that roster now with Barcello, he had like the solid veteran to build the team around. Then he got Matt Harms coming from Purdue, Brandon Averett. Where's Brandon Averett? Like from Utah Valley or something like that, right? And then he got the freshman Caleb Warner, and Gideon George came.
Yeah, it's a nice little
Yeah,
roster. They're
Pope's a
deep.
good, and he's a good coach. So they're gonna win their play-in. Obviously, they should. And then they get to win the Texas Abilene Christian. So
Yeah.
you like Texas more than I do, but I think
Which
I
has
think
turned around because earlier this season you were Texas and I wasn't.
yep,
But that there, I'm
yep.
warm on Matt Coleman now. That Matt Coleman is the tournament MVP. 30
So
points last game.
that could be the game of the term right there. A Texas BYU game that could be on the top in the second round. That could be the game in the second round, I think. Because I
Yeah.
mean, Alabama, like Alabama, UConn would be nice seeing Book Knight go against some of these guys like Petty and stuff. I mean, that'd be a pretty cool game to watch. But this Texas BYU game, I think, would really intrigue me. Or like Georgetown, Florida State. If Florida State beats Greensboro,
Yeah.
could you see
Yeah, man.
Georgetown making it to the Sweet 16? Can you see Georgetown beating Florida State? I can see it beating
Uh,
Greensboro, but
yeah, I think they could beat Florida State, but they got to have Pickett. Pickett's got to play well. But the emergence of Dante Harris as a rock solid point guard,
Dante Harris is the
he's
key to that team
he's
now.
made it because you need a guard like that to make a tournament run. So they're capable. Yeah, I actually think that in this region, the winner of that 8-9 game between LSU and St. Bonaventure, I could see them being the team to come out of here. Maybe that's a wildly out of control take, but
I could see
Michigan
LSU
is
beat
falling.
Michigan.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Michigan doesn't have livers. They're falling apart a little bit here. They'll have to get a perfect game from Wagner. Dickinson wants to stay out of foul trouble. I could see LSU just outscoring them, like simply just outscoring them. Same thing with St. Bonaventure with Lofton and Oshuni, and if Welch or Holmes gets it
So
together here, they could outscore them.
LSU can
Um,
make it to the elite eight against Bama.
yes, absolutely,
Wow,
100%.
that would be. We're calling that right now. There you go, Bama
The
LSU.
fourth. It's hard to
Yep,
beat a team twice, let alone 3 times like they have.
yep,
But 4 times, could
yep.
Alabama beat? Could they possibly beat LSU a fourth time?
Then you got
Um,
LSU going to the semifinals. You see Cam
I
Thomas in
could,
semifinals. I mean,
I could see, yeah, because as hot as they could be, I don't know. I feel like that 8-9 winner is, you think Michigan's happy right now looking at that 8-9 game as their next matchup? They don't like
nope,
that. There's just nobody wants to see St. Bonaventure. Nobody wants to
nope.
see Cam Thomas in a tournament game. Cam Thomas is going to be a March hero. I can tell you already, he's going to hit a
Oh,
buzzer beater.
yeah,
The winner,
definitely.
the winner of that LSU St. Bonaventure game is probably going to come on a last second shot. Maybe not a buzzer beater per se, but it's going to come down to the wire for sure.
And Bonaventure looked good today, so
Oh yeah, Lofton. Lofton's had trouble with VCU all season, and he just owned them today. They're ready to go. That team is sick. Most definitely. Be interesting to see what the NIT rolls out here in just a little bit because I'm a little curious about those alternates because you got to imagine that Ole Miss and St. Louis are going to get NIT invites in Louisville,
yeah. So
right?
are
So
they gonna if these are the 4 teams in a bubble, are they gonna invite them to NIT? That's a good question. I don't know.
yeah. So
Maybe
then I
they
asked the
have also
question.
play-ins. They have 4 teams waiting on the NIT. Also, do they probably will.
I was gonna say that they must have NIT play, you guys, because
Yeah,
some guys that will be in the NIT wouldn't play in the CBI or CIT, so there must be some guys
yeah,
waiting to jump in. My
yeah.
my purple and gold Washington Huskies are available for any tournament. So, but yeah,
And
man,
they'll play.
Friday through Monday. So you guys typically we have that Thursday, but now you only have to really skip one day of work. Although I'll be skipping Monday too because I gotta watch those matchups.
But we'll have
But
a
yeah,
Wednesday NIT though, right? And then
yeah, Wednesday NIT and then the play-in games. So there'll be a combo. It's typically like a 4-game slate. In the past, it's been 2 play-in games and 2 NIT games. So I would expect a 4-game slate on Wednesday, which we will
wait.
dissect, have a content for all that.
So how are we doing? So you usually have Thursday, Friday, and then you have Saturday, Sunday. How are they doing it then? We're starting on Friday. It's going Friday, Saturday.
Well, so round 1 is going to be played Friday, Saturday, and then round 2 is going to be played Sunday, Monday.
We're just playing Sunday, Monday. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they're giving them that. So it's just basically push back a day, and then I don't know if they'll have the Sweet 16 start on Thursday like years past. I haven't looked into the actual schedule yet.
So why did
and
they push
see.
it back? Why did they push it back a day though? Why did it get pushed back to Friday? Is it something to do with COVID or testing or something? Why would they start on when it's always been Thursday?
I don't. I'm not even sure.
Because you think they'd want their
maybe
games on Sunday
it
to be
might have
national
been.
TV, right?
It may have been to get, let's see, what's that, Friday. So that's 5. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say maybe it's because there's a bubble thing because, they're going to be playing in Indianapolis. So, all these teams have to quarantine or whatever. So maybe it has to do with that. I'm not sure.
Those Sunday afternoon games are big for national TV. Now they're going to turn to Monday afternoon games and people are working and stuff. It's weird. I can't see them doing that.
Yeah, well, they always, they did it. They always do it on Thursday, Friday. If you're a big basketball fan, you'll usually find a way. Like I usually don't work. So, okay. So here's the big announcements here. Seton Hall, St. John's, and Xavier have all announced they will not participate in the NIT. Louisville will not participate in the NIT. So they're just gonna wait. They're gonna hope to get in there on the alternate, and if not, then their season's done. So that's an interesting choice. I thought for sure St. John's would play in the NIT. Their coach, and Coach Mike said that they would. So that's a change of heart. I guess it's weird to ask players to go for a quote unquote consolation prize and go quarantine in Frisco, Texas. Not to talk smack about Frisco, Texas. I'm sure it's a very nice place, but these college kids, maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care about going to NIT. I don't know. Man, there's gonna be a lot of work to be done here, Pete. I'm excited. The 8 or 9 of you have been watching this whole time. I appreciate those of you that were on in the first group. There's like up to 15 that were watching us, but we'll be doing. So the plan here, we'll talk more in depth, but I definitely want to have I don't know when pricing is going to come out, but a show tomorrow of some sort. Maybe you got your school schedule, right? So we'll have to figure that out. Even if we have to do it in the morning, breaking down a little further the matchups once we've had time to go into the numbers. Once pricing comes out, we'll kind of do maybe regionalized shows, and then obviously when the NIT and play-in slates come out, we'll have shows for that. So lots of stuff coming up, content, pre-lock shows, streams, everything. We got the producers ready, and we're gonna rock and roll here. And now that we have Prize Picks at our disposal, and you're playing them now, we'll make money on that. We're going to be talking more about betting now. This is the time of year that if you haven't been betting, you definitely want to get involved. So we'll as we're breaking down games, we'll also say, hey, these guys are +8. We really like this spot. Or, +13 is too much, but they're going to win. Take the money line. We'll have some conversations like that. We're not super betting aficionados, but we know enough about, college basketball to know when a good bet is in front of us. So I feel extremely excited about this. Like I said, I'll be in the premium college room throughout. I'm going to kind of mess around here, go pick up my daughter, and once the NIT brackets are announced, and then I'm going to digest all these matchups and any other teams that aren't looking to be in the NIT and alternates and all that other stuff, and then figure out our schedule. Because, I'm not going to be working on Monday. I know that much. I'm going to be watching games. The first 2 days especially, I'm glad Saturday is one of the first rounds because it's always great to wake up it's usually 9 a.m. my time and then watching games. That
makes it for a better Saturday, actually.
10 o'clock. Yeah. So they'll get some good ratings from that. So, Pete, I know you got your MLB show here you're getting ready for. Thank you very much for jumping on this with me. This was definitely fun. Hopefully you guys got some good info for us, at least for our initial thoughts. I think, it's really obvious where we are, kind of looking here, especially with those 8-9 matchups and the 12-5s with Gauchos and all that. So, we'll have to, and we'll get maybe a bracket contest together, or it sounded like somebody, film student or Sean or whatever his name is, sorry, he put together some bracket thing, he said, so maybe we can get him to do that. Maybe we'll get a head-to-head bracket together, all that kind of stuff. Mania is upon us.
We should see DK's pricing come out probably tomorrow or Tuesday, right?
I hope so. In years past, it was Monday night, I think.
So probably Tuesday.
Yeah.
Make sure
maybe Tuesday.
No problems. Yeah,
and then once the NIT schedule comes out, they'll pop a slate for that too. So we should start seeing some stuff tomorrow evening for sure, to where we'll be able to do a real nice, full show of good information and start giving you guys our initial thoughts on prices. But now we threw some we wanted to do this so you guys could get our reactions, throw some player names out there pre-salary, so that Joni Broom from Morehead State, if he comes out and he's priced at 6.5 or something, we're going to be all in. But if he comes out at 9K, then you know what? He was a great player, but we're not paying that. So it's kind of fun to kind of throw those names out and see where they land here when DraftKings decides to do pricing. So, Pete, I'll be watching your baseball show. I'm excited to see that here later on it's on YouTube as well. So appreciate it, and let's make lots of money, guys. We finished the season with a winning lineup today, so we're gonna make you guys lots of money on Prize Picks, bets, DFS, all that good stuff. Have a good rest of your weekend, and take care, everybody.
Peace.